Hey fellas, welcome back for another exciting episode here at Prime Auto Works headquarters. In this exciting episode, we're going to be building Meng's 1/32 scale M163B Comet. And this was an interesting plane. It was rocket powered, and apparently it killed more Germans test flying it than it did actual Allied forces. So, but interesting kit. I'm building this one for somebody, and I'm going to build it on its wheels, and I'm going to have it split apart. It splits off into two sections, the forward half and the back half. And I'm going to have the rocket engine exposed. Canopy is going to be open. The gun bays are going to be open. The ammo bays are going to be open. So we're opening this up. We're going to put some detail into it. In this exciting episode, we're just going to hit the cockpit. I'm going to get that all done. I've got some really cool paper seat belts, some laser cut seat belts that I'd like to show you that are really good. I've used them before. And so yeah, that's basically it. Come here, Ringo. Come here. You want to get on camera? Hold on one second. For those of you guys that, Ringo, settle down. For those of you guys who are curious about how big Ringo's getting, well, there you go. He's a big boy. Are you a big boy? Give me a kissy. Give me puppy kisses. Got puppy kisses? Nope. He's a big boy. He's a good boy, though. Aren't you, buddy? All right, let's get to building models. So let's take a look at the cockpit area. Now, the owner had sent me this Edward Photo Etch detail set for a 32nd scale Comet, but it's for the Hasegawa kit, which is, I assume, is probably a lot less detailed than this Meng kit is. And there's a lot of good detail with this, and we'll take a look at it here in a minute. One thing that I initially looked at that I thought I might try to use is the metal seat that comes in this Edward kit. And then I got to thinking about it, and I looked at a couple pictures, and I just actually, believe it or not, think the seat in the kit is a little more accurate, because there's somewhat of this rounded rib right around the edge that I've seen on the real thing. And obviously this doesn't have that rounded edge. Another issue that I have to keep in mind, I'm going to be shipping this through the mail, and gluing these things with super glue to without a big contact patch, I don't think it's probably going to make it through the mail. When I super glue these parts, especially these metal parts, they have a tendency to pop off really easily if you introduce any shock to them. So with the guys, the postal workers throwing these boxes around, I just don't see this making it through the mail. So I probably won't be using too much of the photo etch on the cockpit, because like I said, it is for the Hasegawa kit, and this is pretty detailed. So let's take a look at some of these other than the seat. I do have some really cool seat belts, so once I get this painted, I'll show you how those go on. They're the fabric seat belts, and they are really cool. I used them on the last one that I did. Now, this plane has a lot of glass in some weird places, and I've went ahead and I've started on the front half of the fuselage. And I'm going to build this in the two sections so that the rocket engine is going to be visible in the back. And it's going to be split apart with the forward half and the back half separate. And if I can get this together. Now, this was somewhat finicky because they had you glue these pieces in right here where you're going to have your guns on the wing root. And the wings fit into these little plugs right here. So it was a little bit finicky to get them in there right, and it is somewhat thin plastic. It's really good plastic, a lot of nice fine detail in it, but it was a little bit finicky. Also with the glass, they give you the surround around the canopy frame, which you have to glue directly onto the clear part. So I did my best to use some quick setting Tamiya extra thin, and I got that hammered down, and then I'll just mask this off before I go to paint it. Also, there's two pieces of glass that go into this thing, which sits in the front of the canopy there. So I'm going to go ahead and paint this, and instead of using Tamiya extra thin to fit this in, I will probably get this all painted, and then I'll use some white glue to attach the glass on both sides of this piece. Now, like I said, it is pretty well detailed. There were a couple extra parts that that I put in here that they have you attach. One is this wheel. This little looks like it's some kind of a tank, and then a dial or compass or something back here. So you can see that's some nice detail. And there's some detail that this Edward kit does provide, but like I said, this to me is a lot better than having like a flat photo etch piece on there. And again, I think this is going to look better than what this would look like with the photo etch on there. There was one piece that went on this side, and then these just kind of fit around this cockpit tub here, just like so. I can get them. Now I've got them glued onto my toothpick so I can paint them and not have to handle them very much. But then once I get these painted, they just glue on here just like so. So I will paint all this separate and then glue it all together at the end. What's interesting is that this Meng kit supplies you with two different instrument panels. Now, one is this like you would get in a normal kit where it's got all the raised detail, and it does look like pretty nice detail. I'll probably paint both of these and see which one I like the best. Then they have one that doesn't have any of the raised detail, and they supply you with some photo etch to glue these on, and then they've got decals for the dials. So I'm going to do both of these. I'm going to see which one I like the best, and we'll go from there. Now, the photo etch kit that the guy sent me also has that, but I don't think that it's going to match up very well. There'd be a lot of trimming, and since the Meng kit already supplies you with photo etch, we're just going to go this route. So again, I'm not using that. I'm going to go ahead and leave off like the control stick and this other some kind of a lever. And I'm going to do something a little bit different than what I normally do. So I'm going to go ahead and spray this with my metallic aluminum, my AK aluminum right here. I'm going to go ahead and spray this and on the parts that are going to get worn. And then I'll come back with some German gray. I'll spray over top, and then I'm going to do some chipping and weathering, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. But first, I'm going to go ahead off camera and cut out the photo etch and get these photo etch pieces laid down. I've went ahead and sanded the back to kind of rough up the surface of the plastic, and then I'll come back here and I'll also rough up the surface of the plastic here with some sandpaper. It's been my experience with photo etch. It sticks a little bit better if you rough it up, just like so. So I'm going to get on with cutting this out, placing it where it needs to go, and then I'll spray my metallic, spray my German gray, and we'll do some weathering. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do now that I've got I went ahead and primered it, and then I threw down my a coat of AK Extreme Metal Aluminum, and then over the top of that, I sprayed some German gray from Tamiya. And I did use a lacquer thinner, and it really doesn't matter at this point. So what I'm going to do now to chip it is I'm going to take some airbrush thinner from Vallejo. Now, I'm not going to use isopropyl alcohol. I'm not going to use any harsh thinners, but this Vallejo thinner seems to work really well for this. Now, if you're going to do some shading, like post shading, you probably don't want to use this method because the thinner is going to thin down the Tamiya paint gradually, and it's just going to make a mess out of the different shades that you have. So I just put one base coat of German gray. So I'm going to dip a Q-tip in this, and I'm just going to go along here where it's going to get worn a little bit. And this is slowly going to dissolve that Tamiya German gray coat that I put on. And you can see it coming off on the Q-tip. But it's not going to harm the coat of AK Extreme Metal underneath. Okay? And I can even take one of these smaller Q-tips, these pointy ones, and I can come in here where it would get worn a little bit more and kind of worn through the paint, and I can just come along here and just wipe it away where it would get worn, and then take my Q-tip and my toothpick and make some scratches. Now I did this demonstrated this on the P61 Black Widow that I did for some of the chipping. And it's easy to get kind of carried away, but we can always go back and repaint it if necessary. So I'm just going to come along here. I'd like to do this a lot on my propellers for like my World War II planes. I'll base coat them in the aluminum and then spray NATO black over top, and then I'll use this method. It's a lot better, in my opinion, than using the scratches effects or the hairspray, just because I've never gotten good at that method. Now if you put too much on here, it'll come off really quick. So we're just going to come along here and maybe put some scratches here where, in fact, right along these little straps, I'm going to paint these black. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to try to do away with a lot of my gray. So when I paint the black, some of that silver is going to show through, like it chipped on the, was chipping right there on the strap. And then the same thing right along here where it's going to be black. I'll go ahead and wipe away some of this right along the edges. And when I paint it black, I can wipe away some of the black. And so it'll show some of that metal coming through. Okay. Just like that. Just come in here and make some chips. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing on the seat. We'll take this Q-tip that's got a lot loaded up in it. And I'm going to start off going right around the edges where it's going to get really worn from people sitting in it. And we're just going to start wearing this away where we want right along the edge. Just like so. And then we can come down here and see how quick this is going to take this off. See that wearing through that really quick? Now I don't want to get rid of all this paint. I just want to do it in a few different areas just to make it look like it's worn. And hopefully I can take this off and it'll just come off of these high spots where these rivets are. As long as I don't flood it with this thinner, I can take off just some of these high spots where some of these rivets would have been worn away. The paint would have been worn away on them. Maybe a little bit more on top here. Just like that. And that gives a cool little effect. And it's a lot easier to do this and get that like rubbed metal effect, that rubbed off paint look, than if I'd have used the hairspray technique. Because the hairspray technique it comes off in chunks, where this I can just kind of rub through that paint, almost like if I was sanding it away. But I don't have to worry about harming my finish underneath. And then again, if I want to add just a few scratches here and there, I've got a little wet and I've got my toothpick. And a lot of this is going to be covered up by the seatbelt, but Okay. So that's how I do that. Well, once I get these done, I'll flash up some pictures, and then once I get them weathered and then painted, and show you what they look like. All right, fellas, let's take a look at what we've got going on. So I've made my decision on the instrument panel that I'm going to use. This one was the photo etch with the decals, and you can see that the dial faces were white on the decals. And all the pictures I've seen, the dial faces are actually black. So just because of that, other than that, they both look almost exactly the same, other than the decals for the dial faces are white when they should be black. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the normal raised detail one, and I've painted it up, and I've added some gloss Mod Podge for the dial faces so that they have a little bit different of a sheen. And I went ahead and took some oil paint, some sepia oil paint, and just kind of dirtied up the cockpit area here. I did add a few of the photo etch parts from that Hasegawa Edward kit. And I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but there's a little dial here and a couple of dials. There's one right here, this blue one that I added. Also on the back part, this kit was missing. Get a little bit more light down here on the subject. Straighten that out. There we go. But this kit was missing these little pieces here. It didn't have those detailed. I'm not sure what they are, but there's also, it looks like a little rod that comes out. So I'm not gonna be able to put that in until I get it put together and get the sidewalls on it. But this also came from that Hasegawa photo etch kit as well. So I've also drilled some holes up here and on the back of the, or on the cockpit tub here, and I'm gonna add some wiring with some lead wire that I've got. So I'm just gonna thread this through here and then bend it based on reference pictures. I'll probably also add a little bit more wiring with some thinner lead wire as well along the side, just to make it look a little more cluttered inside there. Now, what I am working on now are these seat belts. Okay, and these look really good. I really like these. I used these on the ME262 that I did last time. And these are these, what are these? HGW models from the Czech Republic. And these are their photo etched and laser cut. I think this is paper. It's not cloth. It's almost like, kind of feels like money. I don't know if it's like a cotton-based paper or what, but it's pretty sturdy. And I'll show you how these work, but you can get a good look there or what I've got done so far. And I'm not going to demonstrate this whole thing because it'll take me an hour's worth of video, but I'm just going to show you how this stuff works. So I've got this upper strap here, and you just cut it. This does take a lot of time and a lot of fiddling, especially when I'm not real good at this kind of stuff myself. But you just cut it off here, and again, this is paper. And it's got this backing on it, and you have to remove the backing. When I first used these, I didn't realize that there was this harder backing on it, and I was trying to thread it through the photo etch seat belts, and it wouldn't go through, and I'm like, what the heck? But it is kind of tricky to get this cardboard stuff off the back. And it is a good idea to have a couple good set of tweezers when you're messing with this stuff. Son of a gun. There we go. So I'm going to take my tweezers. I'm just going to peel this backing off. There we go. Get rid of that. So now that I've got my seat belt ready to go. So we'll line this out, and I'll cut off this extra one. Now, I'm not doing this exactly to the instructions. I'm actually doing this based off of a reference picture that I got. And I'll go ahead and flash that up here On that picture, that's the way I'm trying to make these look as best as I can, because these are actually for the ME262. Now, these were sent to me by the owner. I'm not exactly sure if he got these off eBay or if he ordered directly from the company, so I'm not really sure, but I'm sure if you do an internet search, you can find it. All right. Peel that off. Now we've got the photo etch parts down here, and I'm going to go ahead and cut me off a buckle. And what I like to use is this scalpel to get in here and snip off these photo etch pieces. Just like so. Okay. Then I've just got a normal nail file that I use. Oh boy, I tend to lose this stuff. These little tiny photo etch parts, I tend to lose them a lot. Okay, now I'm just going to take my tweezers, and I did get a pretty good cut on this one, but I'm just going to take my nail file and just get rid of any burrs that I have. And this one actually looks pretty good. Now these are those God hand tweezers that somebody recommended to me, and these are really awesome. The GH God hand is, which I assume that stands for GH-PS-SH. And I think I got these off Amazon, but these are amazing tweezers. So I'm just going to take my little buckle here, and I'm going to thread it through just like so. Okay. I'm going to take a pair of skinny tweezers and just fold it over. Okay. And it's like doing delicate surgery. So you can see how this takes a little bit of time to get done right. So putting those other two on took me about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So yeah. So anyway, hold my tongue just right. Oh, son of a gun. Damn it. This is harder to do on video. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera, but you get the idea, and I think oh, there it is. So I'm going to get these buckles threaded through, and then I'll show you how I attach them to the seat with CA glue. Okay, these are not fun to put on. They're finicky, but they're worth the trouble they are to put on, because they look so much better than just the strict photo etch seat belts. So what I've done is I went ahead, I got all my buckles aligned so they match up with the ones that I've already put down. And then I've glued them down here with CA glue. So I've just got thin CA. And you want to use the least amount of CA as possible, because if you get too much on there, then it goops up and just looks like a mess. So I'm going to get some CA on my little glue looper, and I'm going to put some right back here, and I'm going to try to get this sit down. So I'm going to just try to use my thumb and get it where I want it. And once I get it where I want it, I don't want to be moving it around, because I'm going to smear CA glue all over the place. Okay. So that's about as good as I'm going to get it. And there's a nice three-dimensional look to this. I know a lot of guys like using the photo etch seat belts. I have never liked using them. I just don't think they look that good. I've always opted for tape. But these are really nice, and they've got the numbers on there, which adds a little bit more detail. So I think that's really cool. So that's basically it. Just a little bit of CA. Looks like I don't have any squirting out anywhere. I use the the extra thin, and it's sticking on there quite nicely. Now, because I am putting the CA on top of my paintwork, it's not going to have that strong of a bond. So I don't want to be going in here and try to manipulate it once it's down, because it's just going to pop up, and it's just a really hard time to get it back up, or get it back on there. So there we go. That's all there is to it. Yeah, like I said, if I would have recorded my entire amount of time trying to get these cut out and looped into the photo etch parts, we'd be here for like 2 hours, and I know you guys don't want to see that. So that's basically what it is. I'll get the other ones on, and then I'm going to add some wiring, like I said, and that should be it for this video. I'll flash up a bunch of pictures before I'm done, so you can see what it looks like. And then the next episode, we're going to tackle putting it all together. I'm supposed to be getting some photo etch parts from the guy for the exterior. So we'll dress up the rocket engine, and hopefully this is going to look really cool. So I will see you on the next episode. Thanks for watching.